Hi everyone, we are here with 9.3b, which is further negations. Last class we did ne plus, ne pas encore, ne jamais, and its affirmative forms. Today we have two more. The reason why they're separate is just about grammar, but first, before we start that, I want to talk briefly about those negations that we previously did. So we have had in the past having a subject and a verb, and we had learned that normally we put, I'm sorry, that was too wide. We put our ne pas around the verb. If there's two verbs, for example, as in passé composé or in futur proche or passé récent, your ne pas is still going to go around your first verb. This pas, of course, like we said in last lesson, could become plus or jamais or pas encore. These are all adverb forms of the negation, which is to say they're all describing some form of the verb. With jamais, for example, it's talking about frequency of the verb. With plus, this can also be frequency. Pas encore is really about time, if it's before or after a certain event. So these are all adverbs. We have another set of negations that isn't really describing the verb, but is describing some sort of a noun. Places where we have nouns in French, let's say we've got another subject and verb, and potentially two verbs, construction here. Sometimes we have the rest of the sentence here, and we have another noun, okay? So one of the places that we need to focus on is here, because the subject is a noun of some form. You can also have an object noun, which is either the noun of the verb, as in the verb is acting upon that thing directly, or it is coming from another preposition. There may be a preposition here, for example, and the noun belongs to the preposition. But there are sort of two places where we have nouns in a sentence, whether they're subjects or objects. And we can negate those as well. For example, if we had a subject and we had a person here, for example, like Marie. And maybe we have the verb as parle and avec un camarade. Okay, we've got subject, verb, and continuing objects. Well, perhaps it wasn't Marie speaking to somebody, but we wanted to replace her and say no one was speaking. Or vice versa, maybe we wanted to negate the noun over here. Marie is not speaking with anyone, okay? So this is another way of doing affirmative and negative here, but this time the two groups or the two expressions that we'll be using will be about nouns and not adverbs anymore. So let's talk about some of these nouns and really just treating this as vocabulary. Some important words that we need to know are someone is quelqu'un, quelqu'un. Something is quelque chose, quelque chose. These are both masculine singular items in terms of grammar. Tout means everything or all. And tout le monde means literally all the world, which is to say everyone. Okay? These are also masculine singular things. But here, the important part is that quelqu'un is a person, quelque chose is a thing, that's a box. Tout is also conceived of as a thing, and tout le monde, of course, is back to people. So we have two people and two things. When we're talking about the people, here we go. We have the affirmative side. We have quelqu'un and tout le monde, someone and everyone, being the affirmative of the negative form, which is ne personne. Okay, I put the ne in there because usually we have to have it. The opposite for objects here. So we've got quelque chose and tout, something and everything or all, we have the opposite being ne rien. Sometimes that ne is not there, but usually it is. For our purpose, we're always going to make sure that we need it or that we have it. So we have some examples here. Let's look at this second one. J'ai vu quelqu'un sur le quai. If I look closely, I have a subject, two verbs, and then some form of a noun. So my noun here is after. It is literally just directly connected to my verb. When I negate this, I'm going to find my verb, and I'm going to make sure that I can put my ne before my first verb. And this word, quelqu'un, is going to get replaced with the negation form, which is personne. So now this becomes je n'ai vu personne sur le quai. I didn't see anyone on the platform. Notice that the ne goes before the first verb, okay? But the rest of the negation goes wherever it was in the sentence. It's not going here right after the first verb like we normally would see it. It's going to go wherever it was originally in the sentence. In this case, it's after the second verb. Similarly here, let's look at the second example. Jacques a parlé avec quelqu'un. Quelqu'un is a person. If I want to negate this, I'm going to find my verb. Here I've got subject, two verbs, rest of my sentence. This is a preposition, so this noun is being acted upon by the preposition. I'm going to find my two verbs. I'm going to put my ne right before my first verb, and I'm going to put my negation wherever this word already was in the sentence. So now I have Jacques n'a parlé avec personne. Even though personne is way out here, that's fine. That's where it should be because that's where it originally was. Same thing then. So in these two sentences before, these were objects. These weren't subjects. But if I turn it around and quelqu'un is my subject, quelqu'un is the subject, I have a verb here and a verb here, rest of my sentence. Same thing, I'm going to look for my verbs. I'm going to put my ne right before my first verb, and I'm going to put the negation exactly where it was. In this case, it flips the order. See my two verbs here, my ne goes right before it, and personne goes at the very beginning because that's where the subject is. That's what I'm replacing. Quelqu'un est monté dans le train, someone got on the train, versus personne n'est monté dans le train, no one got on the train. Last example here. Tout le monde est prêt. Here's my word that's going to be negated. It's a person. And then I've got my verb after it. So this is my subject. So if I do that and I want to negate it, I'm going to use my verb and I'm going to say, okay, I've got to put my ne right before it and put the negation wherever it was, in this case in the place of the subject. Here it is, my ne right before my verb, and my negation in the same place, which in this case is the subject. Is everyone ready? No one is ready. Same idea here, but with objects. In this example here, we've got subject, verb, verb, and then object. I want to find my first verb, put my ne right before it. And wherever it is that my affirmative word is, change it to the negation, but don't change the place of it necessarily. Marie n'a. I could have technically put the acheté and switched to order and put rien here because that's where it originally was. Or in the passé composé, you can move rien because it's a short word and you can put it right here where your pas would be. Marie n'a rien acheté de bizarre. Okay. Similarly here, je pense à quelque chose d'intéressant. We've got subject and verb. Here's my object. Find my verb. That's where my ne is going to go. And quelque chose, thing, that's where my negation is going to go. Here's my subject verb. My ne goes before it. And you'll see this preposition, and I've got here my negation staying in the exact same place. Same thing. Quelque chose est arrivé. This is acting as my subject. I find my verb. I've got two. My ne will go before it, and my negation will go wherever the word originally was. This now becomes rien n'est arrivé. Two verbs. And finally, tout est possible. I find my subject verb. My verb is going to help me identify where to put my ne. This happens to be the subject of my sentence and the thing that is going to become negative. So that's where I'm going to put it. Put my ne before my verb, change it to be rien. So objects go with ne rien or rien ne. And people go with ne personne, or if you need to flip around the order, personne ne. Moving down to some examples. This first one, transformez les phrases pessimistes de votre camarade, suivez le modèle. You'll notice that they're all in the il n'y a format. So all you're doing is just a little bit of practice. You're keeping your structure the same, but you're going to just find the negative word. You've got ne, and you've got the negation, and you're replacing it and turning it into affirmative. So you're taking out the ne, you're replacing the negation with the affirmative. Remember, for personne, okay, for people, you're either using quelqu'un, which means someone, or tout le monde. For objects, which would have been rien, you are using quelque chose or tout. I'll do two examples with you. Numéro 1, il n'y a personne dans ce restaurant. Find my negation, my ne and personne. I'm going to take out ne and replace personne with either quelqu'un or tout le monde. Because it's a person, I'm going to stick to the people. And I'm going to just decide which one makes the most sense given the context. Do I want to say there is someone in this restaurant or there is everyone in this restaurant? You guys get to decide. I guess I would say quelqu'un would make more sense to me. Il y a quelqu'un dans ce restaurant. Number 2, il n'y a rien de bon sur le menu. Find my negation, ne and rien. Ne will come out. Rien will get replaced either with quelque chose or with tout, depending on what I want as meaning. There is nothing good on this menu, gets replaced, and I would say there is something. That one just makes a little bit more sense to me than there is everything. Il y a quelque chose de bon dans ce restaurant. This is a very good reminder of the fact that with quelque chose and quelqu'un, we can add de and a masculine adjective to it if we would like. De and masculine adjective. The next exercise that I'd like us to be able to work through is this one. À la gare, vous avez des ennuis avant de partir en voyage. Transformez les phrases suivantes. They give you an affirmative sentence, and you are supposed to change it to the negative. Keep in mind here that you want to look, once again, for where the verb is. Tout le monde est prêt. This is the subject. This is the verb. So because of that, I know where to put my ne in, right before my verb. And the thing that is becoming negated will stay in that same spot. So I find my verb here, just rewrite it, put my ne in. Tout le monde had been my subject, so therefore, personne will become my subject. I'll do one with you. Numéro 1. Chloé demande l'heure du départ à quelqu'un. Find the verb and find the thing that needs to be negated. The verb here is demande, and quelqu'un is the thing that needs to be negated. So when I write this out, I'm going to need to put my ne right before my verb. When I rewrite this, I have now Chloé ne demande l'heure du départ a, and even though quelqu'un is way at the end of my sentence, personne is going to be way at the end of my sentence because of that same reason. Okay? That's all, you guys. I will see you next time.